What is going on, everyone? It has been quite some time since we've done this, and yeah, it was time to get back into it for sure. So I'll give it a second before Yann jumps in here, and we can get him in on this stream as well. And we're going to discuss some comics. We're going to discuss what we've been working on, and yeah, we'll get all you guys brought up to speed to what we have been up to and everything else. And here's Yana. Hopefully that works. Oh, there he is. What's going on?
Made it. Hello, how we doing? I'm doing pretty good.
Well, I'm doing fantastic now that we're getting back into the swing of things, it seems.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I can't grow a beard, sorry. I'll let you have that one.
You'll get there at some point.
Just give me another 50 years.
I don't think it'll take that long, but you never know.
So all is well now that you've properly defrosted after your adventure?
Oh my God, this last weekend was a hell of a time. Like, I don't know if you've ever spent time in one place for multiple hours. I've been doing it since December for maybe a half hour at a time, like meditating in the sauna, but definitely not 15 hours worth. And it was a hell of an experience for sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys get much snow over there?
In Barcelona? No.
Yeah.
In Barcelona, no. You don't have to go far to see a little bit of snow. This year it's been pretty mild actually. But you know, if you're willing to drive like an hour, 2 hours, you're in the mountains, in the Pyrenees.
Oh. Yeah.
You know.
That's pretty rocking, for sure.
Yeah. Not quite as cold, but
right on. So if you're not aware, me and Yann used to do this weekly. I'd say 5-6 months ago, a good half a year ago, and we're getting back into the swing of things because we're both operating a little bit better. We've been pretty busy from November till about now. That's about fair to say.
The winter blues, office hours.
For sure. So we're going to be discussing some comics. Yann had told me he had some laying around, and I've been very much more active trying to read every week, getting some new stuff into my brain and thinking about new ways to do things with my own comics. So we're going to be discussing the first issue of Stokoe's Dead Orbit comic that came out a couple years, I think, ago. Yeah. Maybe it was last year.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
So we're going to discuss that. We're going to tell you where we are in our art endeavors. Probably tell you about comics and stuff that we were working on currently. And yeah, we'll take it from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds pretty good. Let's get started.
Where would you like to start?
Well, I suppose we should kind of give people an update on our very own comics before we dig into other people's comics.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So where are you sitting with your comic Phosphor right now?
All right, so I am making a comic book in my spare time. I have been for some time. It's called Phosphor. It's a little sci-fi adventure comic book. I have got a page handy right here. And then, of course, I go out of the borders and like off the charge. I haven't posted on Instagram for quite a bit, I've noticed, and it's apt that Marshall actually put out a video on being burnt out, so I just haven't been quite as super active, but I'm still working on this page right here, which is my last post, and I think it's coming along just nicely.
How far along in the comic is that then? That's past halfway, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the aim is a 25-page comic book, but I know that I'm probably pushing it more towards like 28, 29, because I keep having like an idea here and there. But then at the same time, in the past 2 or 3 pages, I've also found panels that I can just cut out or do in a different way. So it is very much still a work in progress, even though I have, here's my other little, here it is. I did do a round of rough inks, so I've got the whole comic book pretty much worked out. Dialogue, everything.
Nice.
But you know, every now and again, you just get a little bright idea where it's like, wait a minute, it makes much more sense to just focus on this character right here, or just cut out some dialogue. So that's still happening. It's past the halfway mark, and besides
I know
that,
the last time you made an update on your comic, you were having a problem with your computer. Is that still a thing, or you're completely traditional?
Yeah, you know, like traditional. Literally got like everything right here. Of course, the juice, you know. But yeah, I don't have a computer anymore, so I'm stuck with a Cintiq that doesn't do very much right now, and no more Photoshop for me. It's something that I'm gonna have to work on in the next coming months. But that being said, as I said in my last vlog on YouTube, I don't know, like I've just disconnected so much in the last year that I've been doing so many more things traditionally that once I got over the initial shock of not having, you know, this trusty workhorse that I used to use every single day, I'm actually doing pretty good. And when it comes to a different comic book project we're working on, I've even found some ways around the old lettering problem that I was most worried about with Phosphor, because there's no text in the original art. And now I'm thinking like, maybe I can letter on my own and just cut it out and just stick it on top, not permanently, just for the scanning, just so I can scan it in, and then if by that time I have Photoshop, and if not, I'll have to find some other way, you know, I can do the touching up, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. I think I first noticed it when Jeff Lafferty was showing off some of his old pages from like the late 80s, I want to say, where he was doing the same thing, and he had his inks, and then he was like basically gluing or taping all the lettering and stuff on top of it. So it seemed like it worked well enough. And then I've been traditional for the last 4 years, so I'm just starting to dip my toe into digital. So we still got a ways to go on that.
But don't you find like now that, because you have gone digital lately on an iPad, right?
Yep.
So don't you find that it creeps into your workflow more and more?
Not so much right now. So the thing I'm doing is I'm definitely working at getting practice in on my digital work. I'm hopefully going to be starting a new comic project that's strictly digital, just to make myself, just to force my hand to do it more. But for the big thing is, so I do daily sketching every month, and for the last 2 years, it's been so well for improving everything. But here recently, you can see the tags in my sketchbook, and these are.
That's your sketchbook?
So I'll draw
yes.
stuff
Okay.
for the first half of the month, and then I will take these and refine them once again in the later half of the month, and then half of these will be digital and half of these will be marker sketches. So I'm taking those and probably collecting them into like a coloring book next year for my digital work and whatnot, along with the sketchbook. So yeah, there's plenty of work happening for sure. To speak to the traditional pages,
yes,
I'm just such a big fan. And so this is issue 9 that came out around October or so. And then In January, I finally finished issue 10, and I have all the coloring and stuff done on the actual pages.
Oh,
So.
wow. Your coloring has really improved, huh?
I want to attribute it half to me, half to the better grade paper that I'm using. Like
Okay.
so the pads I was using are these Strathmore Bristol pads,
Yeah.
and they have a smooth finish to them. These are about $10 a pop. The better paper that I'm using is a full pad like this, but it's $25 a pop. So I'm still very.
But how many pages are we talking? Because I know Bristol
They're
can
about
be a little bit
24
more
pages,
expensive.
both pads.
Okay.
So you're
I
talking
wonder if
about.
it's cheaper here. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a decent size because I've actually got one right here. I don't think is the price still on here. Oh, no, I ripped the price off. I've got some. I managed to get a hold of this one.
Mhm.
I don't think it was
Does
all
that have
that
a series,
expensive.
or does it have a weighted number that a series it's on?
A weighted number. How do you mean?
So usually where it says Bristol,
Yeah.
it'll have like a 200 series, or I know the heavier one the more expensive one's 500 series. So
No, I guess it's just a different brand of Bristol.
yeah, probably.
Canson, CS. No, there's nothing like that. But this is like 50,
Yeah.
and I think I spent just over 10 euros on this one.
Is it?
So it's not
Does it
too,
say if
not
it's
too bad.
vellum or smooth?
It's smooth. It's smooth.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very smooth. It says.
Yeah.
In fact, it's so smooth. I'm actually drawing on the back because I feel like with inking, like I just need a little bit more resistance.
No, 100,000%. The problem I was having with the cheaper stuff is that it's a little too smooth. So then when I
Yeah.
get the pencils down and the ink's over it, I go to erase the pencils and I'm half erasing the ink that's put down too.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually been
that,
like I pencil and then I just start dabbing the pencil just to get rid of most of it so I don't have to do it afterwards.
mhm.
You know?
That's been
But
the
yeah.
godsend with the newer paper because like it soaks up that ink and like I let it sit for a day and then I go erase it and I don't lose any of my lines. So
Yeah.
that's definitely the way I'm going, and like it saves me so much time just not having to redo the pages that I've half erased then. So and then
Yeah.
with the fact that it soaks up that ink so well, like it's definitely soaking up the color just as well too. So
Yeah.
definitely probably why the colors look fantastic for this issue. So loving
No,
it.
it's looking very good. But like I think like when I say like it looks really good, I mean like like the artistry of adding the
Mhm.
color, you know. But yes, problems you don't have in Photoshop. Soaking it.
It's
That's
true.
true.
Now I just have to run into the problem of going through so many art supplies that it's killing
Yeah.
all of my bank funds and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
all right.
being an artist it's not the cheapest of hobbies, that's for sure. Which is why I'm really happy with just sticking with black and white art for at the moment. I have
Mhm.
said in the past, like the recent past, like to get into comics as well and in coloring, but like as long as I can like avoid it, because that's gonna
Oh
get
yeah,
expensive.
absolutely.
Gonna get expensive.
And I mean, you can pick up sets for reasonably cheap. I think like a six marker set costs probably about $30. I mean, that's still $5 a
30.
pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are Copics though. I think I pick up my Prismacolors sets. I think they're 72 for like 115. So you're talking about 100 or buck and a half for a marker.
Okay, that's more doable.
Yeah. So where are you with your sketching then? I saw
But
you
my
using
sketching, okay,
patience
well,
and doing
so
plenty of sketching.
besides phosphor, like I am still doodling away. I've got my this is my sketchbook. You may have seen this one. This one is full.
So what size
So
is that sketchbook?
this is Okay, so clearly we have a little difference with the what we call the sizes. It's if you have US letter paper size, that's about A4 here. So this is A5, which is half that. So if I hold it like this, you double this up and you basically have a printer.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I think you're
And,
probably about the same size that I'm working at then.
yeah. So this one's all full. Can I still turn my camera around? I can just go through it just very quickly.
Yeah, the arrow.
Yes, I can. So I still got that one here. Hope. So as always, just drawing whatever comes to mind and whatever's in front of me while I'm at the office. Unfortunately, there's less and less time to draw at the office thanks to a new project. But yeah, this one filled up nicely.
That's awesome.
I
love the way that you fill all your pages and like you get little ideas for doing all that stuff and you just let it go.
Yeah, well, I mean, like again, like I just try and fill up the page. So at some point you're always just like, you're just doodling. And because it doesn't have to be a particular thing, like you can just come up with completely random stuff, which is a lot of fun. Like this is a very Dutch house in the background. This was just like somewhere in the Philippines on Google Street View. And then I thought like, oh, that's a really good thing for perspective.
Now, do you notice as your book fills up, like do your drawings like rub off on the opposite page? Because I see you do both front back.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Yeah, that's just a Wolverine. That's just there's the way around it, if you can be asked, then is just to get a little hairspray.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because a lot of people if you go to an art store, there's always like those expensive fixative things that you can buy and which is fine, but to be honest, like a little bit of hairspray does the trick.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
So there's plenty of sketches here.
That's fantastic.
This was actually after McNiven, who does the Return of Wolverine series. I've been on this thing lately where I'm really eager to pick up certain traditional inking techniques. So I've just been checking artists out and just copying art and trying to learn from the masters. This is one of my own characters for Phosphor.
So is that ball pen? Is that ball pen?
This is just regular, just regular old pen, man.
I'll be game.
That's a little Art Adams.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I still think Arthur Adams is still on the top of his game. Huh?
Oh, for sure.
That's Chris McQuinlan. He's got his comic book right there. Let's see. So sketching wise, things have been well. Just a lot less in my spare time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you've been all over the globe at this point.
Yeah, I've been lucky.
That's awesome.
Lucky. Yeah. This is let's see, jump ahead. So yeah, I'm just filling this up, and this is all great exercise. And the way in which it pays off to sketch is so I've got these pages worked out. But if you look at the so can you see the blue line?
Yeah.
So the way I've been working lately is I just make sure that I get the proportions right, and that's the most important thing. And then I have the sketch beside me, and then instead of finishing it up in pencil really tight, like you see some artists do, because I'm also inking, I'm confident now to just go in straight in inks and just fill it in and just see what comes out, right? Oh, yeah. And that's really fun, and it's exciting because then by the time I finish the page, you always get that feeling of oh, did I make that? Because there was no, and there's also a lot less of that. I don't know, when you do really tight pencils and then you have to go over it, it feels too much like tracing, and like the artistry of inking is just not, it's just kind of missing, you know. And yeah, like looking at this page for the other project that we're part of, you know, it I don't know, like there's so much on this page which was literally I just kind of made it up as I went along, like filling in the details and just moving ideas around for different panels. But it works. Like this way of working works for me.
So speaking of the other project,
Yes.
it has been announced that you are part of the anthology book number 2 now as well.
Yes. Very exciting.
That is so exciting. How far are you on that then?
So the story I have, so just to back up for anyone who's watching and doesn't know what we're talking about, a year ago, members of the V100's comic book community set up by Kevin Cross quite a few moons ago, we decided to do another 100 days of making comics where we spend half an hour at the very least every single day to work on a comic book and put out a book together. And it was quite a success. A lot of people got to pick up a copy. We got quite a few ourselves to sell off. And so this year, there's so many new members of the community. So the idea was to put out an issue 2. And somehow they crammed in even more creators than before. Unfortunately, some have had to drop off. And I wasn't going to be in this one. And then I end up being an understudy and getting a little story ready. I pretty much have my story done. I worked out a story with Maui. And then when Mike asked me, I was like, okay, I'll get to use that story and just somehow shrink it down to 4 pages and have a little bit of fun doing that. And yeah, the 4 pages are worked out. I finished one completely. Like I could add gray tones. I don't think I have to. And I'm just gonna start working on page 2 this weekend. So
that first page is inked then, fully done.
This one right here is. I mean, this is pretty much done. You know,
that's fantastic.
It's ready to go. And it was also fun, like working at 100%, like the actual scale. That was another thing, because I did a lot of it just with the quill, and this is, you know what I think. Like I love those pens, but like the amount of control you can have with one of these, like you really have like the 0.5, the 0.05 finest, all the way up to one of the thickest. Like it's incredible, like what you can get out of this one. You know,
that's fantastic.
The only danger the danger is when all of a sudden you lose control and there's just like a splurt of ink all over your page.
Oh yeah, for sure. Joshua Campbell's in the chat. He says he's stoked to have you on the project as well.
Yes.
Hey,
Josh.
So the thing is, when we did the first book, we did, I think there were 20 creators. 5 of them just did pinups, but the other 15 had 6-page stories. So the way we got around that with this book, getting some more in there, we actually cut the story pages down to 4 for everybody. Don't have so much of the filler and whatnot, and we're trying to cram as many people in there as we can. There's such a great, huge community, and I've got mine written up and started. Now I just got to put the pencil to the page and actually get them all done up. So looking forward to knocking that out in the next month, because we only have a month left.
1 month. 1 month, isn't it? 6th of April, and then the next phase, putting it all together.
Then hopefully it'll be printed by the summer. That's the big intended goal, because we actually have a member of the Hundreds, Gaz, that's going to be tabling at San Diego Comic-Con, which is awesome, and hopefully he'll be sharing our books with his table as well. So looking forward to all of that.
Yeah. When's the San Diego? Which one?
I want to say it's August, but it might be July. But yeah.
Yeah.
Still on that.
Pretty cool.
I think
it'll be awesome one day. One day we should just all be at a Comic-Con together.
Oh, absolutely. we'll gather all of us hundreds in
Yeah.
the Americas at some point and get everybody at the same con. Could you imagine just half of Artist Alley just filled up with all of us? That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Just take it over. Yeah.
Are you working on anything else besides all that? I know that's plenty
Yes.
to work on.
Yeah. So one of the ways I just try and stay focused is I've just noticed that if I just have one project, you know, and like you spend, you know, you kind of have to keep your eye on the prize, because if something knocks you off, like you just kind of get, you know, you go off course. And so I've had that happen a number of times in the last 6 months. And so I realized, like, when I actually have more projects, yes, I'm having less fun because I'm more stressed out about it, because, you know, I want to put in the hours. But I noticed that I do actually get more stuff done. So there's actually a third comic book project that I'm working on. And this is not one that has to be delivered for a certain time. But I've already got 2 pages done for that one as well.
Is that with anybody else, or that's just your own personal?
Maybe. No, it's definitely with someone else. Someone you know.
Right on.
It's a fun project. We haven't really spoken about it too much, but I can say what is really fun about this one is that we're making it up as we go along. And it's kind of like a relay. So I do a page, the other person does a page, I do a page, and like.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so that is what is really cool, because we kind of have to, you know, you don't know what you're getting back story-wise. It's like, okay, let's see where we're going.
So it's like back in grade school, we used to do like a relay, or like we'd tell a story and like you'd pass the ball. It's kind of like that, but you're all doing different pages.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's really fun, and it's kind of like on the back burner, like there's no rush, and like it's just, but it's been fun just seeing stuff, you know, like seeing pictures being sent back and forth about how it's going. So yeah, I'm just waiting on the next page now for that one. So that's the third comic book project. I am also doing trading cards, because so I don't have, the trading cards are kind of hidden away in my backpack over there, but I do, like, what kind of started it off was this one right here.
Oh yeah.
So one day I decided, like, okay, let's do a warm-up. I haven't done work on my comic book for a little bit. So let's just draw a whole bunch of them very quickly in marker, no pencil, you know, just like 5 minutes per drawing kind of thing. Yeah. And so that was a lot of fun. And then
You're telling me each one of those cards was 5 minutes?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's one of those psychological things where, you know, like if I have an entire page, I have this thing like I get in this mindset of like, well, it has to be perfect, and like, and then I catch myself just spending in like a lot of time on it. Mm-hmm. But it's not necessarily better. And back when we worked on the first anthology, the two of us tried to get it done in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And like, I'm very proud of the comic book pages I created for that. And sometimes it just, you know, a little fire under your butt does, you know,
for sure.
Yeah, it works. And it doesn't mean you put out like bad art necessarily. Sometimes it's just this, I think there's even a name for it. And I think it's something like the Parker theory or Parker law or something. And it's not about time, but it's like in the 1960s, there was a clerk working for the British government whose last name was Parker. And he basically had to account for money spent on projects by the government. And what he discovered was that no matter how much money you put forth, all of it will be spent.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
And so the same goes for time.
Will fill whatever space that you have for it. Yeah.
Yes. And so what he made people realize, backing it up with like what he had uncovered, was that so if you simply give less money and less time available, people will simply make use of the resources they have, and they will still get the work done, right? Of course, there is definitely a breaking point.
Oh yeah.
But for myself, like I, it's just one of those things that I had to learn where if the project doesn't have a clear end date, I will just keep on going. And if I have a whole weekend, I will spend a whole weekend on one page. But if I only have one day, then I need to make sure that it gets done in one day, right?
Yeah.
And so with these ones, I just set a little 5 minutes for each one, and I just got going as quickly as possible. And then I decided, like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if I just cut up some of the Bristol into little trading cards, and I just draw every single character that is in the comic book. So I went through the rough ink version of the comic book, and I realized I have something like 24 characters in issue 1. Right?
Yeah.
And that's a little, and so now I'm also starting to realize, like, maybe this is why the comic book is taking a while. Because because it wasn't like they are people in the background. It's like, no, I know all these people, and they have a part to play somewhere down the line. And so I was like, oh, right, this is why I've been working on this for like 3 years. So that's another project, and I think it's a fun one. I don't try and spend too much time on each piece because I realize, like, well, it's okay if I mess it up. I can just make another one, And it's again like it's getting into this mindset of just not being so precious.
Oh yeah, that's what happened to me with me and Luke's project comic. That like I allowed myself like a couple hours a night to knock out a page, and like wasn't too precious with anything. Kind of got rough lines down and then just hit it with markers. And I think every page took me within 2 to 4 hours. So I was just knocking them out like hotcakes. So
where is this comic book, and where can we read it?
You can read it on Patreon. I think it's for I have the whole thing up for like the $5 up tier. I'm going to start redoing pages for that. Okay. Now that I have a good idea and base, and like there's a few things that need fixed here along the way. So I'm definitely going to be cleaning up the whole thing. And probably redoing that, and then releasing it to the $5 Patreons over there, and then probably throwing my first drafts. I don't know if I want to do webtoons with it or not, but it'll definitely be somewhere while I work on the new pages. So,
but that's cool. And so, what is this secret new project that you mentioned earlier? Is that secret or?
It's not really. So I've got the anthology. I've got to finish up the sketchbook stuff and whatnot, like the back pages of issue 10. I've got to get the second trade all put together. Like there's a few pages that I have to redo for the whole thing. And then I have started work on one of my oldest stories. Like this thing is 15 years old. This was the thing that I was doing the entire run of I Never Forgot so I could build up my skills so I'd be on the level for this. Yeah. And I dug it out of the closet like a few weeks ago and started looking at it. Like, there's definitely quite a few things that need to be fixed. And this is just like the first partition of it, but like I think I have 44 pages or so. I think probably each, like 10 of them or so are one issue. So right now I've got about 4 issues for that. But yeah, it's fun like putting it all together and like seeing how much I've grown as a storyteller and both visually and literally. So yeah, that's coming together and like throwing down ideas to make that all work. So
let me quickly grab the charger. before I go offline. I'm really starting to notice the age of my phone where the battery just drains so quickly. It was
Oh
full
yeah.
at the start of this conversation. I kid you not. This is just insane.
I can believe it for sure. I think that kind of puts a nice bow on everything that we're working on currently. When we were talking about yesterday, you said that you had Dead Orbit, and I was like, we definitely have to read this because I wanted to talk to you about Stokoe's art and how much it reminds me of the work you do and like how much little details and stuff that you get in there.
Yeah. So first of all, this, as an Alien comic book, this kind of hits the nail on the head for me. And it actually gave me a lot of thought about just genres in general, because like when I think of Alien and like how can you make a new story in that franchise, like to see this comic book and it's all like claustrophobic on the ship and like all the equipment and all the stuff that he puts up for you to look at, right? All this clunky hardware, and like the characters themselves and like really gruff, like, you know, like working class people, and you just instantly get them, and like how they talk to each other and how they're moving around the ship. He just nails Alien for me. Like it's really like story-wise, storytelling-wise, I'm like, wow, this is just. But so much of the storytelling he does is in his incredibly detailed art, and it's another thing that really stood out for like in this comic book was like the coloring as well, you know. So I had a little look. Nonsense tech, Josh says. Well, this guy is definitely very good at it. But I had a little look, and like he almost does everything. Like like he wrote the
I'm
story,
pretty
he
sure
drew
he
it,
wrote it,
inked it, like
drew it, and everything.
lettering.
I think the only
Yeah,
help he had was like the variant covers and whatnot. Or
yeah.
did he even letter it as well?
He's the letterer as well, I saw.
That's crazy.
Which makes
But
me
yeah,
wonder, like, how much time does he spend per page? Like, how much time did he get to work on this?
which is fantastic because I think what we were saying earlier, like he puts as much time as he needs, or as much work as he can allotted into the time, and does such an amazing job at it. Yeah, it looks like it's all written art and everything by Stokoe. So, yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that this started coming out.
But this is his first comic book by him that I've read. I noticed that a lot of people recognized him and have been talking about him, but I've never actually read a comic book by him. So very cool.
I'm interested to see what else he's done. Looks like he's done Eclipse, Godzilla in Hell, like the Godzilla's, Moon Knight a couple years back. But yeah, I guess he hasn't been around. I figured he was around for 20, 30 years, but by the looks of it, he hasn't been around for more than a decade or so. That's crazy.
Anything else you've been reading?
I have been reading so much. Umbrella Academy. So for Rubies and Movies, we've started doing once a month. We'll take an adaptation. Where January we did Deadly Class Volume 1 for the show that they put out on Sci-Fi. I love it because I want to say the first 5 episodes of Deadly Class covers that first volume.
Okay.
And then we just did Umbrella Academy last week for the Netflix release, which I love both adaptations. Like the artwork's so great for the actual comic book. It has that real Mike Mignola vibes to it. And it's something completely different than the show ever was. So,
are we talking about Deadly Class or the other one?
Actually, both art styles for the comics per se are very visually like each other. Wes Craig does a great job of doing this very simple design. His colors or the colors that really make his lines come to life, and he cuts in and out of different styles throughout the books and whatnot. Um, but yeah, reading that, Murder Falcon's been one that I've been keeping up with because, man, I'll read anything Daniel Warren Johnson does because like his lines are so wonderfully energetic. Like, he's not. When we talk about when you fill whatever space you have with the amount of time you have, but I think he's one that nails that on the head. Like, he's not too precious about his lines. Like, they're not the best, but they're incredibly energetic, and like the energy he brings to pages is unwieldy. So yeah, I love his Murder Falcon right now. Basically, the story of using heavy metal to fight monsters from a different universe. It's incredible. So definitely check that out. That sounds cool.
I haven't read it, but I love his art, so I have to pick it up. Like I'm gonna look for it after this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
I think it's only going to be 8 issues. The 5th one just came out 2 weeks ago, I think. So 6 next week, and then 2 more issues after that.
I've actually just watched the first 2 or 3 episodes of Umbrella Academy on Netflix today. So
are you digging it?
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. There's 2 niggles I had, and I love it. Like, I think the characterization is really cool. There's so many just great shots where you can imagine they're ripped straight out of a comic book.
Oh yeah.
But the only 2 complaints that I could come up with, and they're kind of petty, but like one was like, okay, so it's kind of inspired by the X-Men. Why, like Heroes, does it have to be a character who comes from the future to warn of an apocalypse? You know, but like that's the only thing where I'm like, that's the same storyline.
But he's from their time. Like, he jumped forward.
Yes, he is. But it's just like that Days of Future Past where I'm like, okay, but I mean, it's so different than Heroes, and it's so different than Days of Future Past. It's totally cool, and it's been many years since that show. But that was the only thing I was like, really? Like, they're going to do that again? And the other thing I thought
want to say more, but you have to get to this.
No, I have to see it. I'm watching it. No, I love it. I love it. I'm really intrigued what the deal is, and like the history they have from the first episode. Like, there's all this history implied, which is great. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
And then the only other thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's like, I'm not against violence, you know? Like, you can, like anything Tarantino, I love it. But I just found there's a couple of scenes in this show, in the first 2 episodes, where I was really like, whoa, geez, what's happening here? Like, I felt like this was a very PG-13, very kid-friendly show.
Very much punches, especially with
and then
Clouds.
All of a sudden, there's this torture scene, and I was like, whoa, what is like?
Yeah,
it just feels very jarring, out of place, you know.
Oh yeah.
And this is not the only show, by the way.
Like the best thing in Umbrella Academy, which my love is for Klaus. I love that character, both comic and the adaptation versions. Like, and plus the Rob Sheehan was in Misfits, so such a big fan.
I quite like the Time Jumper number 5, just the notion of like an old man in a kid's body, and like I really like that one. But yeah, it's good, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. And then, what else? Speaking of reading comics, actually, I'm usually on Comixology on my phone, and all of a sudden this month I decided to give Marvel Unlimited a go, and I have to say, like, I have not read this many comics in 2 days on my phone, like, ever.
That's awesome.
Like, this is, I love it. Like, it's Netflix for comics. That's for Marvel.
So you don't have Comixology Unlimited. It's just Marvel.
I don't think Comixology Unlimited is available in Europe.
Oh, that's right.
I
No, you're
don't
right.
think it's available because every time I open it, it kicks me to a European website if I want to
Hmm.
like look at anything. Because there's some clear issues with rights or with money because of Amazon. I don't know. It doesn't affect me in any other way, by the way. I have access to everything.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't have the unlimited one. I don't mind. I don't mind buying the comics on Comixology. But the Marvel Unlimited one, um, there's. Have you ever? Do you listen to classical music?
Yeah, from time to
Okay.
time.
Like there's this point in my life where I thought like, man, I should really get into some classical music and just check it out,
Hmm.
right? And I remember like walking into the library and in stores and just walking into a part of a building that I'd never been in and just being overwhelmed with choice and not knowing where to start, you know? Um, and ever since I kind of fell out of reading Marvel comics, when I was like 19, 20, and just getting into different stuff, different entertainment for a while. Whenever I find myself in a comic book store, and then I'm like, oh, I'd really like to get back into some X-Men because I love that
Hmm.
comic book so much. And then you see all the trades and all the different names, and it's like, you just don't know where to get back into it. Like you just
Yeah.
don't know where to start, and it's very confusing. Like which one is before which other one, and like how it connects. And there's probably like an annual somewhere that you're supposed to read. Like, but now that I have Marvel Unlimited, I've actually gone online and just Googled it. I'm like, okay, what is the correct order for reading all these storylines?
Yeah, yeah.
You know. But what I also caught myself doing is like, right, X Factor. Like I was always intrigued by X Factor, but we never like when it originally came out when I was a kid. I was reading the Dutch versions of comics, and X Factor wasn't being published, so I could never read it.
Um,
So I literally started with X Factor issue 1. So it's a really big step back, like in the 80s. And it's great. Like it's so cool to read old school X titles, and the art as well. Like the art is, it's very solid art, but it's not flashy in any way. It's
that's
just
awesome.
very solid storytelling. And I just can't get over how in the 90s, people just started taking up more and more of the page for, just flashy imagery. And I loved it.
Oh yeah.
But like the amount of story they tell in one single issue of X Factor, in the same way that John Byrne used to do with X-Men, like the Dark Phoenix saga and all that stuff. Like the amount of stuff they can cram in 22 pages is just incredible. It
Oh
just
yeah.
blows my mind.
And you got to remember, like that was the cream of the crop because like not everybody was able to make comic books back then, or at least get them in the mainstream area. Like Marvel really was striking gold with everything it was doing, and
Yeah,
DC for the most part too. But like now, now the options are so unlimited right now because there's so many little companies that like if you want to make a comic, you can. And I mean, we're
yeah,
proof of it because hell, we're doing our own things, and it's awesome. So
yeah.
they're
But
not
it's
gonna
like
all
it's
hit
nonstop.
100%, but it's crazy to look back to where we have been and like the opportunities that are available now. That
Yeah,
is crazy. So, hell yeah.
yeah. We're just bringing it back.
I've got to at some point go back and start the Jason Aaron Thor run that he started. I want to say it was 2015, but it goes through Thor and then Lady Thor and comes back around. So I gotta get
Oh,
through all
yeah, that was fairly recent. I remember seeing the covers for that one. That was fairly
that. Mhm.
recent.
Well,
Yeah. I've
it
never.
started way back when he started writing Thor. I think it was God Butcher, and I want to say
Yeah.
that was 2015. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I gotta
I've
get
never
back to
been
reading all that.
into Thor the comics. I've never. So was always more
Well,
of an
check out
X
those
titles.
Conans that I sent you, and like
No, I
because
will.
Jason Aaron
I'll
is the
definitely
one
check them
writing
out.
that right now too. So
Okay.
he's
I,
pretty
I
solid.
actually just downloaded the Marvel Comics app for that one. So thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
Be
Right
checking
on.
those out. Yeah.
So, what are your plans for this coming week then?
Captain Marvel. That's for sure. That's this week, right?
Yeah. You guys probably have it this weekend, don't you?
I think I saw for Spain the 8th. So that's next
Okay,
weekend.
it's the 8th for
Next
us too.
weekend.
So
Yeah. Yeah, Captain Marvel. I still want to see Alita Battle Angel because Marshall was raving about it.
you for sure need to see that because the imagery in that's pretty fucking
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, but how's the? You've seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Story holds
Yeah.
up too.
Yeah. The story's pretty solid. It feels like you're reading 3 separate manga issues like back to back. Like
Okay.
the story's not so cohesive, but for the most part, it's one solid big story that they put together.
Okay.
It's really good. I
Yeah.
probably might check it out again this weekend. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
really
So
good.
there's that one. What else? Finished watching Defenders again, so now I can finally get into Daredevil season 3, which I haven't seen yet. I'm very excited about. Was watching The Punisher season 2.
I haven't gotten into that yet. I think that's the
Yeah.
only one
So
that I haven't
yeah,
watched now.
the first 3. I think the first 3 are like one solid story. Very Western. You know, like the stranger in a strange land who's gonna help out. Very solid, like really good. Like I really dug it. And then after that, I don't know. I just kind of I have to get back into it because I love season 1 so much. But then all of a sudden, like in a single I want to say episode, they issue, they just lost me. I don't know. Like all of a sudden, everything started to drag, and it was a complete like they're in a complete different environment and everything. And I was like, I can't like what happened? Like I'm completely not following it anymore. So yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I'm super stoked for Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And plus,
I'm,
then
I
we have
mean,
Endgame in like 2 months.
Endgame, man. Oh, I'm very excited for Captain Marvel. I don't really know what to expect because I don't really know the character. The
I don't
trailer,
know anything of anything. I haven't
yeah,
even
the
seen the
trailer
trailers.
seems fun. Have you seen the trailers or no?
Nope.
Okay. The trailers are serviceable. They didn't really stand out. But then there was like somewhat of a trailer made for TV, and they add a very different soundtrack to it. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wow, this is cool. Like I like this. The main thing I'm super excited about Captain Marvel, not just for a new story, but like the Skrulls. That's like,
It's gonna be
yeah,
pretty
baby,
dope.
the Skrulls. I'm super excited for the Skrulls.
I think they've started to leak a little bit about Phase 4, and we'll see where all that goes after Endgame. So I'm pretty excited for these next 2 for sure.
Yeah.
And then do we have Spider-Man later this year?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Spider-Man is the first Phase 4 movie with Sony. Yeah. I don't know. Like I feel like it's going to be a bit of a palate cleanser, like Ant-Man. You know, after Infinity War, which is cool. Endgame is like, I can't even imagine. Like I'm so excited. Like I can't even imagine what they've got in store for us. You know.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
Staring at the Infinity War poster right over here, I'm like, 2 more months. 2 more months, and we got it.
And it's not but it's also like April. It's Infinity, like it's Endgame, it's Game of Thrones. Like there's just so like, oh my God, man. Like when I was growing up as a kid, I don't think I ever imagined that so much stuff I loved would just be coming like one after the other, and and everyone loves it. That's the best thing,
Oh yeah.
I love the fact that here in Barcelona you can just walk in the street and like everywhere you go there's like someone's wearing Marvel t-shirt. You see a t-shirt, like it's just so taken off, it's just, which is great.
What do you got plans for your art then this next week?
Not much. I am really just trying to keep my head above water with the new project we have at work. It's very tiring. So there's no more drawing at work, that's for sure. So I just try and, come home, rest, and get some art done.
Nice.
I actually thought of I should just do another 100 days of making comics, just to force myself to make sure that every day I sit, but I do draw every day, but to make sure that I'm actually keeping myself accountable.
Oh yeah.
So
I think for the most part, me,
yeah.
I think I'm at least going to try to get the first 2 pages of the anthology done. I hope to get all 4 pages done, but I think realistically I'm going to shoot for 2, for sure. Because I've got a few days I got to get caught up on my sketchbook and whatnot. Catching up on those special marker and digital sketches. So
yeah,
plenty of work to do. Not enough.
And on the iPad.
Yeah, for sure.
But how do you feel like? I want to hear about your iPad experience because you got an Apple Pencil as well, right? So.
I'm liking it. It feels like learning how to walk.
It feels like what?
It feels like you're learning how to walk again.
Yeah.
Like, just because you're swapping brushes rather than just having this plethora of ink pens and everything at your disposal.
Yes.
And it's like, it's odd to switch between that. The coloring's a little different. Figuring out layers for the first time. Yeah, it's all a new thing, but it seems like I'm catching on rather well. I think I'm probably going to watch a few tutorials to learn the secrets of Procreate a little bit better. But for the most part, I'm liking it. I don't know. It feels a little weird just because I'm not attuned to the brushes that I want to pick right now, but it all takes time and practice. So
yeah, I find like in Photoshop at least, I always just end up having one favorite, because you can so easily get carried away with all the special effect brushes, which are really fun to play with. But in the end, I just found one that closely resembled a real life pen, and just stuck to that one.
It's really weird too. I switched from Sketchbook, I think it's Sketchbook Pro, to Procreate, but Sketchbook Pro had Copic marker settings, which I really dug, but they don't have that in Procreate, which sucks. But it's all right. There's watching Gaz's Total Request Live and watch him draw digital. I picked up a few tips from him, like filling things in and whatnot. It feels like I'm 4 years ago when I just started drawing again, and I'm leaving a lot of open space and whatnot for this and that, and I've just got to remember to fill all that in because it looks better. But it's the getting hitched up to everything. So
yeah,
looks like we've got about a minute and a half left to say whatever we want to say.
And then what will happen?
For an hour.
But I do miss drawing digital from time to time. The main thing is how quickly you can spitball ideas, reusing the same art. Because you can turn it, you can take an arm and just move the arm around without having to redraw it.
That's probably the bigger part that I'm learning how to do is to clip and try and straighten things out where I'm so used to just erasing everything or scrapping the whole project and starting over. So getting used to that.
That is cool.
Taking some
but also composition, if you get into the habit of drawing the background and the characters on separate layers, if all of a sudden something doesn't seem to quite line up or work out, you can just move them around,
Yeah.
And you just cut them out. But then if you have them on separate layers, then it's a lot. I don't know. You just get to play more, and you just get to think about your scene differently. That I always appreciate in digital.
So, last 30 seconds.
Yes.
If you're watching this, it'll be on YouTube later. But if you're not, I'll leave links down on YouTube for Yann's channel. Go over to Instagram, find him under Yanimal, Y-E-A-N, no, Yannemal.
That's it.
Find him. We'll be doing this weekly, hopefully.
Yes.
Either
Let's get
Friday or
back.
Saturday. We'll let you know for sure. But subscribe to him for sure.